Meeting to order, and welcome everyone here. I would ask the council if they have any pecuniary conflicts of interest to declare. Now we're at the time. And 3.1 is our presentation, and we have Scanlon here with us today from Watson and Associates. And I would ask that you make your presentation. As we had the public meeting at the last time, we adjourned that public meeting. This is a council meeting. It's not a public meeting. Council may choose to waive that section of our procedure bylaw to allow input from the public. Let's do it after the presentation. I wasn't asking for it. I was saying that so that the public is aware that if council waives that opportunity, we would allow questions from the public regarding this item on the agenda. But I would like to go through the presentation, and if council asks their questions, and hopefully we can clarify some of the things, and there may not, hopefully it will eliminate some of the questions that will be answered through the presentation. So, Gary, if you would like to go through the presentation, it would be great.
Can I just say a couple things? The presentation has been updated with some information, although it was in the bylaw, we were just no slides accommodating in the presentation initially. There are still some areas of concern that council may have with the level of the charges. Basically, what the background study has done is staff and Gary have gone through what has been identified for capital projects and growth-related projects. From that, the charge has been calculated and basically identified that it could come down to a more reasonable level, and that being said, that is defendable through the Act. Based on that, council then has the authority to basically set the levels, exemptions, and stuff like that, as long as they're below those identified levels. So if there's anything further that you want, it is still open. However, basically this establishes where things really be at. And just knowing that there are adjustments that, whether it's the developer that pays it, the taxpayer that pays it, or through water rates, the projects will have to be recovered somehow. So it's just a balancing act.
I apologize for not making it last time. The excitement of coming, I was overwhelmed and didn't quite make it. I am here today. So a pleasure. Yeah, that was a good introduction. We'll go back over. We've made a presentation, a very detailed workshop with council. A lot of the information's there. From that, there was some refinements, and as was noted by Janet, that we had incorporated all of that into the background study. Normally, because most councils, well, the Act requires that you provide a general understanding of the proposal. That's what we did, and that's kind of the standard fare. We normally don't go through in each detail because most councils normally don't want us to do that. I'm more than happy to do it, and that's why we're doing it today. So probably just a perspective. But as we said, everything that evolved out of the workshop was incorporated into the bylaws. So we talked about the process. Obviously, we've already moved through, gone through the council workshop, public meeting, one further discussion with council, and then you can choose to adopt the bylaw, not adopt the bylaw. It's all your pleasure. These are not mandatory things, but as we go through, there's costs that municipality has incurred already and are paying for. If you choose not to recover it through development charges, that's fine. You shift the cost over to the existing taxpayer. So the existing taxpayer pays for the cost. The new developing businesses or homes, they don't pay anything through the charge. So that's all part of decisions that councils have to consider through this process. Now, these charges been around for over 50 years, about 55 years. They used to be called lot levies. They're called lot levies because they were created under the Planning Act, and under the Planning Act then you could only impose the charge when you created a lot. So you severed a piece of property, you can impose the charge, or you, through subdivision, you subdivided lands and you created the lots. So that's why it was called lot levy. Since 1989, and I guess part of the problems with the old process was, the only time you could really appeal was when you took out the building permit. So it became a very cumbersome process. There was no real way to plan or to react or to have good dialogue with these charges. So both the development community as well as municipalities said we need to formalize the rules and regulations around this. So that's where we came with the 1989 Development Charges Act. And since that time, it has been, in 1997, it was overhauled, so to speak. There was some revisions the province made, and that's the one that we deal with today. And it's the purpose of development charges is to recover the cost associated with infrastructure that the municipalities build to accommodate growth. So it's not to do staff costs, heat, hydro, any of those day-to-day operating costs. It's to recover capital. And it's normally in relation to infrastructure that accommodates growth. Now, within the Act and within what we do in our background study, we have to differentiate the responsibilities of the developing landowner versus the municipality. That being, normally if a developing landowner creates a subdivision, they'll put the road in, they have to put sometimes street lights. If it's more in the urbanized area, they're putting in water mains and sewers, they're very localized, and maybe sidewalks, etc. So those are what's deemed local services. And the Act says that those are still costs that are borne directly by the developing landowner. We normally pick up the costs that are outside of the subdivision within the development charges calculations. Sewage treatment, water treatment, the distribution system for water, the collection system for sewage, parkland, recreation, all these different elements are included in the DC. I talked about the refinements that were made in 1997, and the original Act was probably approaching what we call full cost recovery. But in 1997, there was in the overhaul, they actually stepped in and started putting a lot of exemptions, restrictions, etc. So municipalities, even though we do these calculations, they're not full cost recovery, the impacts of development. And municipalities, you know, that from a number of studies we've done, the best you can do is probably recovering about 75% of the true cost of development because of all these restrictions. And as we go through, you can see they've exempted a number of different types of services. We can't provide for parkland acquisition. There's a provision under the Planning Act where you get a 5% dedication, but that gives you about 3 acres for every 1,000 people. And normally, based on recreation planning consultants, that's what you need for a very localized neighborhood park. But that doesn't give you the broader lands, which, you know, regional parks or more community parks, etc. So that's been eliminated. We can still put in to develop the parkland, so you get a raw piece of land that's dedicated. Obviously, you have to landscape it, you have to put the playground equipment and other amenities on it, so we can still include that in the DC, we just can't buy park land. Municipal buildings, for the most part, or really what it says is the headquarters for the general administration of the municipality, we can't include that. General administration is normally council, would be the CAO, treasury, you have legal department, those, the clerk, those are the general administration of the municipality, so we can't collect for those. They've eliminated all the arts and cultural services, with the exception of the library. So we've lost museums, arts, culturals like theaters or art galleries, those types of things have been removed, and they also eliminated tourism, economic development. A surprising one was they eliminated solid waste service. So now we can't collect for recycle, reuse, solid waste landfill sites. We can't even provide for the curbside pickup vehicles, you know, in order to get the garbage from basically the neighborhoods to the site. Hospital grants, which were historically there, and this is becoming more of an issue across Ontario. Municipalities used to be able to make a charge for